Sadly, I have some other slightly unrelated video game news to report that's of the sad variety. Remember what I said about letting go of Half-Life 3? Because at this point, Gabe is just trolling, which I think is highly unprofessional, and I know it's video games and all, but screw you, Gabe. That's just so stupid. You know we want something. You've crafted a narrative and you've left it out to die. And then you basically all but make fun of us for wanting more games out of you, for wanting more, to give you more money for a product that we think you could deliver. But on the other hand, I argued from an artist standpoint. I have things people want more of from me as an artist that while I have some ideas, I just have no creative drive with which to create with. And to force myself to create simply for the process of creating would be to basically destroy my own creation. If I don't have a good enough idea or if I don't believe in the product enough, it only lowers the entire product if I release something that is below standards. And I can certainly understand that. And I can respect Gabe on that level if he were to come out tomorrow and say that. But I said this. If you let go and he eventually does actually release the game, then score. But mostly I said it's likely that if he is going to do it, it's going to be a launch title for the Steam box. Well, that's not going to be happening. Valve distances itself from Xi3 and the Piston. No involvement in any product of theirs. On the heels of the recent news that the Xi3 piston would cost $1,000, Valve has taken measures to disassociate itself from the unofficial Steambox manufacturer. In a statement in Eurogamer, Doug Lamberty, the company's marketing director, emphasized that Valve is no longer affiliated with Xi3. Valve began some exploratory work with Xi3 last year, but currently has no involvement in any product of theirs, Lambie said. Or Lombardi, excuse me. It was a common belief that Valve had backed the support of the Piston. A common belief. They all but basically said this is our product. Though to what extent was unknown. After the uproar over the grapefruit-sized PC's price, Valve was probably wise to sever ties entirely. Really? I mean, you can get a fairly decent workhorse for roughly around $2,000. If you really want to throw that chunk of change in there. I know because I've done it once or twice before, and those things have served me quite well until they died. So $1,000 for something that's supposed to be a challenge to the console market and even a challenge to the dominance of Apple, because what is it that Gabe said? Oh, I don't consider the big three a threat. I only consider Apple to be a threat. Girlfriend. Sorry, that's how I picture Gabe in these days and ages. He's like some sort of, I don't know, he's channeling his inner black woman or something of that nature. And no, I'm not trying to say that all black women are one way or another or that they all act that way. I've just known enough in my life, or I've dated one or two that were exactly like that, but I don't paint everybody with a broad brush. Now that I've slightly dug myself out of an unintentional hole, because I would hope people would understand that I'm not racist, yeah, so since now there seems to not be a Steam box, not a Valve Piston, whatever this thing was, this means no launch title including something that he knows would get people revved up for a somewhat $1,000 machine. Although I agree, if it was cheaper, he'd probably be all over it. Because what's the one thing that you want from Valve the most, or that most people do? Because I know some people have said, nobody really wants Half-Life 3. You can go take a long walk off a short pier. I played through all of the episodes. I played through the game. I know people have more modern criticisms of Half-Life 2, but frankly, I loved it. I loved it. I loved it for so long, except for the PC edition, because the DRM on that and all the things that ruined one of my Christmas days was utter and total bullcrap. But I digress. Yeah, at day's end, really. If it were cheaper, you know he knows that we want this. And he might put aside his artistic ambitions with the Half-Life series and try to push something out there, because that would be a system seller, especially if it's exclusive, which is exactly why I said it, because that is something that could become this big thing. Then again, given the time between now, Half-Life 2, its last episode, and things, it could become the not officially in production Duke Nukem Forever, and it could suck, as some people have stated, though I had fun with the Duke title myself, just as bad as that one is said to have sucked. And so, I don't know, but the fact that they're distancing themselves just basically nixes any idea of at least one major avenue that would probably be a major reason to bring out Half-Life Episode 3 or Half-Life 3. So that's why I said we're better off just forgetting about Half-Life 3. If it's going to happen, it might happen, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. I can promise you that. And with the death of the Steam box, as it were, yeah, there's no major incentive for him to do anything with this. He's far off. Gabe himself is far off playing around with the new Oculus Rift virtual reality goggles, which I'm excited about. But, you know, this is exactly what I told you it was. This is exactly what I said to you guys was happening. NASA told me almost a decade ago that VR wasn't completely dead. Out in the open, yes, in the open markets it was dead, but it was always in the background trying to address the main reasons why VR failed. And no, it's not just lack of games. It was that the headgear was so heavy that it pushed down on people's necks, and you don't want to play something that strains your neck after 5 minutes worth of playing. It just doesn't work for people. So now we got this thing that does enclose you, and I think it has some earbuds that fold up and into the ear. And it's supposed to be majorly immersive, and it's supposed to be something where you could play Skyrim, where wherever you look, the game will render. So it's like you're stepping into the boots of the character. I told you that was still on the docket. I've also talked about holographics being the next 3D, but that one's a lot farther away. Getting a solid state hologram to project in standing light is still something that at this point in time, science just can't quite get done. But virtual reality, that can get done. And this is another antiquated technology that I'm sure some people will be like, why did they dig that up? I never really liked it when it was around. But then when they are able to play shit like Skyrim, well, I think your tune's going to change there, Mr. Skeptical Man. But I digress. So take it as you will, but I just don't see Half-Life 3 being in the cards, because Gabe's all but given up on Windows for the most part. He's all focused on the Linux. He's all focused on the Oculus. He's focused on other pet projects. Half-Life's not likely going to be any of those pet projects anytime soon.